Welcome back to Singapore Property Talk Law. We are diving into all the latest twists and turns, with the CDL saga. And this time it's about the resignation of Dr. Catherine Wu. It's, really a drama unfolding right in front of us. I'm Damien, and with me today to unpack all this is Serene, our expert on all things business.
Hi everyone, Serene here, and yeah, Damien, you're right. This is way better than any drama we could watch on TV.
Okay, so for those who haven't been following every single little detail, Dr. Wu just recently resigned from her role as advisor to Millennium and Copthorne Hotels, which is, like the hotel arm of City Developments Limited,
Hmm.
or CDL. And this all comes after a very public family feud between CDL's executive chairman, Kwek Leng Beng, and his son, Group CEO Sherman Kwek.
You got it. And remember, this resignation is just the latest thing to happen in this whole crazy saga that's going on. We had all those accusations of a boardroom coup, the kind of mysterious role of Dr. Wu, and then of course we can't forget about the concerns from SIS, the Securities Investors Association of Singapore. They've been asking some really tough questions about Dr. Wu's qualifications and how much influence she really has on Kwek Leng Beng.
Right, because if you're an investor, you would really want to know that the person kind of whispering in the chairman's ear actually knows what they're talking about, right? And it seems like SIS is a little worried about that.
Oh, absolutely. They've been pushing for a lot more transparency about all of Dr. Wu's past roles or actual contributions and whether the cost of, even having her around was justified, especially because her, advisory role wasn't a paid position. That has to be a huge red flag for investors that were already a little uneasy after CDL's recent financial performance.
Well, yeah, speaking of which, remember back when CDL's share price completely, I don't know, fell off a cliff after everyone heard about the feud? I mean, that was investors really hitting the panic button.
Yeah.
They really don't like uncertainty. And this whole family drama is just, adding so much fuel to the fire.
Definitely shaking things up. And it's important to remember that this isn't just like a family squabble, It has the potential to have very real consequences for a lot of CDL's big projects. We're talking about those major developments like Union Square Residences, which has been kind of struggling, and also all those upcoming launches like Zion Road and Newport Residences.
I mean, just think about it. Imagine you were maybe thinking about buying a unit in one of these developments, and then boom, out of nowhere, this feud explodes in the news. Wouldn't that give you second thoughts? I mean, I know I would have second thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. Buyers need to know that their money and investments are in good hands, but with all this turmoil going on inside the company, it makes sense why people would be hesitant to jump in.
Yeah, and it goes way beyond just buyer confidence, right? This whole thing could really mess with CDL's ability to get financing for projects or, even attract new partners and keep their best employees. It's this ripple effect that could hit the entire company.
Totally. I mean, no one wants to be on a sinking ship, especially if the captain and first mate are at each other's throats, right? And then you have to remember that CDL is also dealing with a bunch of pressure from outside the company, too. Like the property market is definitely cooling down, interest rates are going up, and there are still all these doubts about some of their investments in the past. Right. Like, remember what happened with Sincere Property back in 2020? I mean, that cost CDL like almost $2 billion. And then there's all those investments they made in the UK property market that even Kwek Leng Beng himself said were just bad choices. Those kinds of mistakes didn't really make people feel confident even before this whole family drama happened.
It's almost like, they're sailing through a storm with a giant hole in the boat. And then to make things worse, the captain and first mate decide to start fighting.
Okay, that is a pretty good way to put it. And this is exactly why investors are really paying attention to what happens next. They're basically looking for anything that shows stability, like maybe a clear plan for the future of the company and some reassurance that CDL can actually make it through all of this.
But it doesn't seem like they're getting any of that so far. Even Kwek Leng Beng himself has said that CDL's share price has been pretty weak since Sherman took over back in 2018.
Yeah, it's really complicated and it raises some important questions about how they plan to, hand over control of the company to the next generation and, about how they make decisions and also just how they're going to balance these family relationships when they're running such a big business.
Right, and speaking of those family relationships, we should probably talk about who might be the next CEO. Kwek Leng Beng said that his nephew, Kwek Ike Sheng, could maybe step in if Sherman were to step down. So is this a real plan or just part of this whole power struggle?
Well, it's really hard to say, but it's definitely making things even more uh, I guess, heated. So does this mean that Kwek Leng Beng is losing faith in his son, or is it just a way to get Sherman to back down and, I don't know, fall back in line?
And then we have the legal battle that's happening between both sides of the family. We've got some really well-known lawyers involved, so things are going to get even more interesting very soon. The next time they're in court will be after CDL's AGM, which is probably happening sometime in April.
Yeah, that's going to be a really important moment for this whole story. We might be able to see more of what's going on between the family, what kind of legal arguments they're making, and maybe even get a sense of where CDL is headed in the future.
So for all of us watching this unfold, what should we be looking out for? Like, what are the most important things to keep an eye on?
I think it's important to see how those new projects are doing, like Zion Road and Newport Residences. That'll tell us how the market is responding to all of this uncertainty.
Right, because if those launches fail, it's a pretty clear sign that buyers are too nervous to get involved.
Exactly. And we also can't forget about that takeover attempt for M&C New Zealand. It's a really big move for CDL, and it'll be interesting to see if they can actually do it with all this drama going on.
It's a lot to think about. This whole thing really shows us that even the biggest companies in property aren't safe from problems and uncertainty.
Totally.
Yeah.
And it just reminds us that putting your money in property always has some risk. It's so important to do your research, understand how the market works, and know the things that can affect your investment, including all these internal problems happening within the companies that, are developing the properties.
Yeah, and as always, we'll be here to try to make sense of it all for you, and we'll analyze all the new things that happen and give you some insight into how this is going to affect the whole Singapore property scene. And since we're talking about risk, maybe we should go back to Dr. Wu's resignation for a sec. It might seem like things are calming down now,
Yeah.
but it also leaves a bunch of questions unanswered, doesn't it?
For sure. I mean, her leaving might make some people feel better about how much influence she had, but it also kind of leaves this, gap. So was her advice actually useful? Was she really giving her honest opinion? And what happens now? Will Kwek Leng Beng just find someone else to advise him? Maybe someone even more controversial?
It makes you wonder if this resignation was all planned, a way to make investors and SIAs happy, or is there something else going on here?
Right. And we can't forget that Saya still wants to do a full investigation into everything. They want to see all the details about her appointments, what she did, and how much it all cost. They're not giving up, which is actually good for people who invested in CDL because it means someone's looking out for them.
Yeah, it shows that good corporate governance is so important, even for family businesses, right?
Yeah.
And this also shows how important it is for companies to be open and honest. When they're not transparent, it just leads to all sorts of rumors and speculation.
Absolutely. And in this case, the rumors are spreading like wildfire.
So for everyone listening who's trying to figure out what's going on, what's the main takeaway?
I think the biggest thing is don't just look at the fancy brochures and the promises of getting rich quick. You got to look deeper, ask lots of questions, and get to know the people behind the projects. Because this whole CDL thing shows us that even the biggest companies can have some secrets they're hiding.
It's a good reminder that investing in property is more than just buying buildings. You really need to understand all the risks, the people involved, and all those different things that can either make a project successful or completely destroy it.
Exactly. And if you're a shareholder in CDL, you're probably wondering what this means for your investment and what the board should do to fix things. These are really tough questions, and honestly, we don't have all the answers right now.
But one thing we do know is that this story isn't over yet. We'll be keeping a close eye on everything that happens, and as always, we'll be here to help you understand all the ups and downs. So make sure you stay tuned to Singapore Property Talk Law for all the latest insights and analysis.
And until then, we'd love to hear from you. If you were a CDL shareholder, what would you be most worried about? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
Thanks for joining us on Singapore Property Talk Law. See you next time, and good luck with your investments.